Mycket imam.
I plan to divorce him and take his half of the business.
I was smiling, holding a tray of wine glasses, while my wife was telling her brother she was divorcing me to steal half my business. And I wasn't even supposed to hear it. She didn't know I was standing in the garage behind the door. Did I walk in and confront her? No. I walked back in, served her family dinner, kissed her cheek, and planned everything. 3 days later, she was blowing up my phone with 47 desperate messages. This is how it all started. The betrayal, the lies, and how I turned it all back on her. You ever have a moment where time just pauses? That's what happened the second I heard her say it. Already working on it. My lawyer says we can take half his business too. The words echoed in that cold garage like a gunshot muffled by drywall and years of fake smiles. The kind of sentence that shouldn't come from your wife's mouth. The kind that shifts something deep inside you. Like a wall cracks behind your ribs and everything you've built your life around starts to feel hollow. I remember my hands trembling. Just a little. Not enough to drop the chairs, but enough to feel like my body had already understood what my brain was trying to deny. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I stepped into the house with those chairs like I hadn't just been shot in the heart. Madison was lighting candles in the dining room. She looked up at me and smiled. That perfect, rehearsed, lipstick-smeared, were the dream couple smile. I matched it. I played my role. Dinner went on. Laughter. Toasts. Her dad gave me his usual backhanded compliment about how far I'd come from being a college dropout who once sold phone cases out of his car. Her brother Trent clinked his glass with mine like he hadn't just called me a loser 5 minutes earlier. Madison looked like the queen of the night, glowing. Her hand rested gently on mine as we sat beside each other. But all I could feel was a knife tucked beneath her touch, and she was smiling like she hadn't just stabbed me with it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to her in bed, staring at the ceiling while she scrolled through TikTok, giggling at memes, not a single flicker of guilt on her face. And all I could think about was, who is this person? Because clearly, I didn't know her. Not really. The next morning, I started noticing things I'd ignored before. Her phone was always upside down now, always on silent. She had yoga twice a week, but came back smelling like cologne I didn't wear. There were new lingerie pieces in our drawer I hadn't seen on her. Then there were the little jabs. You've really let yourself go since we got married, huh? Not everyone wants to talk business 24/7. You don't own me just because you pay the mortgage. Before, I chalked it up to stress, work, hormones, anything. But after what I heard that night, every word had a different weight, a sharper edge. I wasn't paranoid. I was finally seeing clearly. I started checking her emails. I had access to our shared cloud account. I knew I shouldn't, but I did. And what I found confirmed everything. Emails between her and a law firm, subject line, divorce timeline discussion. Scan docs, preliminary asset division, my name, my company, my savings, everything I'd built before I even met her, highlighted like prey. And then I found him. There was a folder of screenshots. She must have forgotten to log out of her notes app when it auto-synced. Conversations with someone named K, saved under a random girl's name in her contacts. They'd been texting for months. Explicit messages, photos, plans to meet when I was out of town for a trade expo. Kay wasn't just some guy. He was part of this. He was in on it. She wasn't just cheating. She was plotting. That's when my chest stopped burning. It went cold, like someone had poured ice water over my soul. I didn't confront her that day either. Not yet. I needed time. I needed to be smart. She had already spoken to a lawyer. She was moving like a snake, slow and quiet under the surface, waiting to strike. If I came at her emotional, I'd lose everything. So I played the long game. I went to work like normal. Kissed her goodbye, texted her I missed her, pretended I was too busy to notice how late she came home. I studied her routine. When she left, who she called. I even set up a hidden camera in my home office, the one place I knew she'd never think to check. Then, on the third day, I blocked her. Everywhere. Phone, WhatsApp, Instagram, email. And that's when it happened. The dam broke. 47 messages. All in less than 12 hours. Can we talk? I think you misunderstood something. Don't do this. You're scaring me. Please just call me. I still love you. It wasn't what it sounded like. You're ruining everything we built. Let's just talk like adults. Please, please, please. Funny how fast the mask falls when they realize they've lost control. I read them all. Every single one. Then I smiled. For the first time in days. Because now, finally, I had the upper hand that I didn't respond to any of her 47 messages. Not one. I watched them come in. All the pleading, the gaslighting, the half-baked excuses. Like she was trying to plug a dam with paper towels. It was pathetic. Almost laughable. Almost. But I wasn't laughing. Because after everything, the dinner, the garage, the emails, the guy named Kay, I needed one thing before I moved forward. To see her face when she realized I knew everything. So I invited her to lunch. I made it sound casual. I told her I was sorry for being distant lately. Said I wanted to talk in person. She agreed right away. Eager. Too eager. We met at our favorite sushi place. The one she picked on our first anniversary. She walked in late, like always. Lipstick perfect, sunglasses too big for her face, trying to look casual but failing. Her hands trembled a little when she took them off. "Hey, babe," she said softly, leaning in for a kiss. I leaned back. Her smile faltered. The waitress came by. We ordered. I asked for her usual. She looked thrown off. Good. Let her feel it. Once we were alone again, she started spinning. "I feel like we've both been under so much stress," she began. "I think we haven't been communicating well lately. I've been emotional. And I may have said things I didn't mean. You know how I get when I'm upset." I stopped her with a raised hand. "Who's Kay?" I asked. Her face froze. She blinked. Once. Twice. "What?" I said. "Who's Kay?" "The guy from your notes. The one you've been texting when you're supposed to be at yoga. The one you've been sending photos to. You remember him, right?" She stared at me like I'd slapped her. "How did you?" "I've known for a while, Madison. About him. About the divorce lawyer. About what you said to your brother in the garage. Don't bother lying." I heard every word. She didn't speak. Not for a few seconds. Her expression was no longer shocked. It was calculating. I could see the gears turning behind her eyes, trying to find the right script. Then she smiled. A twisted, defensive smirk. "You were spying on me?" That was her angle. Play the victim. "I was protecting myself," I said. "Which I should have done a long time ago." Her voice rose. "So now what? You think you're some genius for catching me? You think this makes you the hero? God, you're so full of yourself." "I think," I said calmly, "that you've shown me exactly who you are. And I'm done pretending I don't see it." She slammed her hand on the table. "Oh, grow up, Tyler. You think you're so special? Like I owe you loyalty just because you pay the bills and play house." I laughed. Quietly. Not because it was funny, because I was finally seeing the real Madison, raw and venomous, without the mask. "You didn't just cheat, Madison. You plotted. You tried to rob me. And the worst part? You were never even sorry. Not until I cut you off." She stood up, flustered. "You don't get to control me. I was suffocating in this marriage. I wanted out, and you wouldn't even see it." "No," I said, standing too. "You wanted the money. You wanted the house, the reputation, and someone else on the side. You didn't want out. You wanted it all, and to leave me with nothing." She didn't deny it. Just glared. That cold stare I used to think meant she was tired or stressed. Now I knew it meant she was calculating her next move. "I've already filed," I said. "The lawyer's handling everything. You'll get what you're owed. Nothing more." She laughed. Bitter. Ugly. "You think this is over? You're gonna regret this." I shrugged. "Maybe. But I'll regret trusting you more." And with that, I left her standing there. Alone. In the middle of the restaurant where we once celebrated love. Now soaked in lies and the ashes of a marriage she burned down with her own hands. It's strange how quiet the world gets after a bomb drops. No more pretending. No more games. The confrontation was done. The words were said. And now, all that was left was the echo. That night, I slept alone in the guest room of a house that suddenly felt way too big and way too empty. Madison didn't come home after the sushi incident. She stayed out, probably with him, or maybe just somewhere she could scream into a cocktail about how I ambushed her in public. She didn't know I'd already frozen the joint accounts. She didn't know I'd taken her name off the business documents and secured everything she thought she could take. My lawyer had been working quietly behind the scenes since the garage incident. He moved fast. Surgical. Cold. Exactly what I needed. The next morning, I woke up to madness. My phone had blown up again. Not from Madison this time. From her mother, her cousin, even her hairdresser. Apparently, Madison had launched a full-on smear campaign overnight. Posts about emotional abuse, about how I'd controlled her, how I was paranoid and toxic. She even posted a picture of her crying in the bathroom mirror with a vague caption. You never really know someone until they hurt you. Classic. She couldn't known what she did. So she flipped the narrative, made herself the victim, and let her little online fan club eat it up. Comments were pouring in. You're so strong. He never deserved you. We always knew something was off with him. I didn't respond. I didn't comment. I didn't even scroll. Because I had something more powerful than sympathy, proof. I sent my lawyer everything. The screenshots, the emails, even the audio recording I'd pulled from the garage camera. Yes, I had it all. Her voice, crystal clear, saying she was working on divorcing me and taking half of what I'd built before she even entered my life. That alone was enough to nuke her case in court. The next 2 days were a blur. She came back to the house once, tried to act like she still lived there, went straight to the bedroom, packed a few designer bags, and didn't look at me once. Just walked past me like I was a doormat. You'll be hearing from my attorney, she said as she left. Already have, I replied. She paused for a second. Just one. Her hand on the doorframe. I could feel the tension in her jaw from across the room. But she didn't turn around. She slammed the door behind her instead. That was the last time Madison stood in our home. That same night, her affair partner, Kay, messaged me on Instagram. No shame. No hesitation. Hey man, just want to talk. I didn't know the whole situation. Didn't mean for things to get so messy. Messy? He called blowing up a marriage messy. I left the message on read. He followed up a few hours later. For what it's worth, she lied to me too. Of course she did. It's what she's best at. Meanwhile, I started hearing from my friends, the ones she hadn't poisoned against me. A couple of them had seen her out with Kay months ago, but didn't want to stir the pot. One even admitted they overheard her say at a party that she was married for stability, not passion. Funny how no one ever says that to your face. The whole illusion of our life, our marriage, was unraveling fast. And not just for me. People were starting to see it for what it was, a transaction wrapped in smiles and birthday captions. But I wasn't broken. Not anymore. I started feeling something else. Not rage, not grief. Just clarity. Cold, quiet clarity. I wasn't the same man who walked into that garage a few weeks ago. He died the moment he heard the woman he loved say she was planning his downfall with a glass of wine in her hand. And good riddance. The man I was becoming? He wasn't going to make the same mistake twice. That'd be why the end of the week. The war had gone fully public. What started as betrayal behind closed doors had turned into something louder, nastier, and more dangerous. A social media circus, a legal standoff, and a slow, boiling rage that followed me everywhere I went. It wasn't just that Madison had cheated. That would have been enough. But she wasn't content to leave with whatever dignity she had left. No, she wanted to burn everything. Me, my name, my business, even the friendships she used to fake her way through. And honestly, I don't think she cared about winning. I think she just didn't want to be the one who lost. My lawyer warned me. She's going to hit you where it hurts. Not just in court, in public. She'll try to ruin your reputation before the judge even sees the paperwork. Don't take the bait. But that's easy to say when you're not the one being turned into the villain in someone else's story. She posted a video on Instagram. Shaky phone camera, puffy eyes, soft piano music in the background. She didn't say my name, but she didn't need to. Everyone knew who she was talking about. She called me manipulative, said I was cold, claimed she was living in fear, and dropped the kicker. I just want other women to know what emotional abuse looks like. Because sometimes it wears a perfect suit and runs a successful company. That line hit like a bullet. Because I did wear suits. I was successful. And in her twisted narrative, those things made me dangerous. And it worked. The comments exploded. You're so brave for speaking out. Men like that always hide behind money. Sue him for everything. Take him down, sis. My inbox turned into a war zone. Trolls. Strangers. Even people I went to college with suddenly had opinions. Madison was weaponizing sympathy, and she was damn good at it. But the worst part? Some people I thought were my friends stayed silent. A few even liked her post. That stung more than I want to admit. Still, I didn't fire back. I didn't post my side. Because I had something stronger than sympathy, truth. I had receipts, timelines, evidence. And in court, facts speak louder than crying videos and filters. My lawyer filed our official response the next morning, full of documentation, emails, timestamped messages, financial records, and, of course, that audio clip from the garage. Already working on it. My lawyer says we can take half his business too. Her voice, her words, her plan. And once those words made it into official court documents, the tone started to change. Fast. Her lawyer reached out for a private meeting. They wanted to reassess the settlement structure. Translation, they knew they were screwed. I could feel the panic crawling into her camp like mold under the wallpaper. But I wasn't in the mood to play nice. She wanted to tear me down publicly? Fine. Then she could pay for it privately. And yet, even with everything falling in my favor, there was no satisfaction. No victory dance. Because no one tells you how empty it feels to win a war you never wanted to fight. The house felt colder now. My office, the one I built from scratch, where we used to brainstorm over coffee and dream about growing the company, felt like a ghost town. I kept remembering little things. Her laugh echoing down the hall. Her perfume on the stair rail. The way she used to fall asleep on the couch with her head in my lap during movie nights. And I hated that those memories still held power. I hated that after everything she'd done, after the lies, the cheating, the betrayal, part of me still missed the version of her I fell in love with. But that version didn't exist. Maybe she never did. Maybe she was just a costume Madison wore until she found something better. Something newer. Something with less emotional investment and more personal gain. The storm was finally calming. The social media frenzy slowed. My lawyer kept the legal pressure on. Her side backed down from anything dramatic. We were heading toward a settlement. But in that silence, in the space where all the noise used to be, I found something I didn't expect. Clarity. Not peace. Not yet. But something sharper. Stronger. A voice in my head that finally said, "You're going to be okay." And this time, I believed it. There's this moment after the storm. Not when the sky's clear, but when you realize no one's coming to save you. No lightning. No thunder. Just a strange, deafening silence. That's where I lived for a while. The papers were filed. The lawyers were talking. The smear campaign had slowed, almost like she ran out of venom. Madison stopped posting about me. Stopped texting. Stopped pretending. I think she realized the performance was over. The audience had moved on. And so had I. I took a week off work. Not to find myself, or whatever cliche they throw around in self-help books. I just needed to breathe. I needed space without people asking, "How are you?" In that careful tone that really meant, "We heard what happened." I went upstate. Rented a quiet cabin with bad Wi-Fi and no distractions. First night there, I didn't sleep. My body was still buzzing with everything. The fights. The lies. That cold smile she gave me at dinner like I was some pawn she'd already written off. The second night, I slept. Hard. For the first time in weeks, my dreams weren't twisted memories of her. Just darkness. Stillness. It felt like a reset button no one told me existed. In the morning, I started thinking clearly again. That's when it hit me. I'd lost myself long before I lost her. The version of me she married? That guy was driven. Hungry. Sharp. He built something out of nothing. He didn't beg for love. He didn't settle for half-truths and tight-lipped apologies. Somewhere along the way, I stopped being that man and started becoming her accessory. She didn't fall out of love. She fell out of control. And once I stopped being easy to manipulate, I became disposable. I know that now. The sad part is, I would have given her everything. Not just the house or the money. I would have given her the version of me I kept hidden. The vulnerable, real, scared version. But she didn't want a partner. She wanted a stage. And I was just part of the set design. Back in the cabin, I started making a list, not of what I lost, but what I wanted back. My routine. My clarity. My trust. Not in others, but in myself. My instincts, the ones I ignored for too long. I promised myself something else too. Never again will I mistake performance for love. Never again will I ignore the red flags just because the package looks good in a dress and high heels. And never again will I let someone like Madison define my worth. By the end of the week, I came home. The house felt different. Quieter. Lighter, even. I took down our wedding photo, the one where she wore that fake perfect smile. I boxed up her stuff. Every dress, every fake book she never read, every perfume bottle that made me choke with nostalgia. I didn't smash them, didn't burn them. I just let them go. Somewhere between those cabin walls and that empty hallway in our home, I realized I didn't hate her. Not anymore. Hating her meant I still gave her space in my life, and she didn't deserve anything more. Rebuilding wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some movie montage of gym workouts and deep therapy sessions. It was simple. I woke up early. I worked out. I cooked my own meals again. I laughed with my coworkers. I called my mother. I started reading again. And piece by piece, I started becoming him again. The man before Madison. But smarter, sharper, stronger. It was raining the day we signed the papers. Not a storm, not dramatic. Just that soft, constant drizzle that makes the world feel smaller, quieter. Like even the sky didn't have the energy for fireworks anymore. I pulled into the lawyer's office 10 minutes early. Madison was already there. She always liked to be first when there was something to gain. She was sitting in the waiting area, scrolling her phone like she wasn't ending 4 years of marriage with a swipe of her manicured thumb. She didn't look up when I walked in. Not at first. But when she did, it wasn't hate. It wasn't regret. It was that same icy, polished stare I'd seen the day she told her brother she was planning to take half my life away. Funny how someone you once kissed goodnight every day becomes nothing more than a stranger with your last name. We didn't speak. Not in the hallway. Not as we sat across from each other in that sterile meeting room, signing documents that officially untied what we once tied in front of 150 guests and 2 teary-eyed families. Her lawyer looked tense. Mine was calm, efficient. The pens clicked. Pages flipped. We were just 2 people processing paperwork, like it was a business transaction. And maybe that's all it ever was to her. At one point, she glanced at me. Her voice, soft and sharp all at once, broke the silence. So this is it. I looked at her. I really looked at her. Not the surface, the eyes, the posture, the tone. Everything she used to conceal and perform and manipulate. And underneath all of it, I saw exactly what she was now. Empty. This was it a long time ago, I said. We just didn't admit it. She crossed her arms, leaned back, trying to look unfazed. But her fingers were twitching slightly, a tell I hadn't noticed until it no longer mattered. You know, she said, with a half laugh, you could have forgiven me. People move past things. Affairs. Mistakes. It happens. Mistakes, I repeated, staring her down. You didn't trip and fall into someone else's bed, Madison. You planned it. You plotted with a lawyer behind my back. You called me a loser while I was cooking your family dinner. Her lips pressed into a thin, forced line. No denial. Not this time. And I realized she wanted me to stay angry. Because as long as I was angry, I still cared. Still reacted. But I didn't give her that. You know what the worst part is? I added. You thought you could do all this. Cheat, lie, betray, and still walk away with half. You thought I'd just fold, smile, and hand it over. Her silence confirmed everything I already knew. I stood, signed the final page. No hesitation. Just one clean stroke of ink that ended a life I no longer wanted. As I handed the folder to the lawyer, she said one last thing. You'll regret this. I looked at her for the last time. No, I said. I regret ever loving someone who wore a mask for 4 years. And I walked out. The rain hadn't stopped. It soaked my shoulders, dripped down my collar, but I didn't rush. I just let it wash everything off me. The guilt, the doubt, the anger, even the memories. There was no cinematic ending. No shouting in the street or final kiss or twist. Just a man walking away from a woman who never deserved his loyalty, finally free. And God, did that freedom feel good that it's over now. The papers are signed. The house is quiet. The ring is in a drawer I'll probably never open again. People keep asking if I'm okay, like there's a checklist for surviving betrayal. Like at some point, a switch flips and you're magically fine. I'm not going to lie. Some nights, I still wake up at 3 a.m. expecting her beside me. There are still songs I skip, places I avoid. I still hear her laugh in the back of my head when I drive past the sushi place where everything broke. But there's peace now, not because it doesn't hurt, but because I finally know the truth. And the truth has a strange way of setting fire to the lies you told yourself just to sleep at night. Here's what I've learned. 1. People show you who they are early, believe them. The signs were there. The little digs, the jokes that weren't really jokes, the control behind her smile. I wanted so badly to believe in the version of her I loved that I ignored the version that was real. Love isn't blind. It's just convenient sometimes to close your eyes. 2. If you're giving more than you're getting, you're being drained, not loved. I gave, and gave, and gave. Time, effort, loyalty, money, trust. I built a world she didn't have to contribute to, and she resented me for it. Resentment grows in imbalance. She didn't want a partner. She wanted to feel powerful, and I made it easy. 3. Cheating isn't just about attraction, it's about character. It wasn't about finding passion or feeling desired. It was about entitlement. She thought she could have everything: the life I built, the side affair, the fake Instagram wife aesthetic, without paying a price. She thought loyalty was for people too weak to cheat. Let me tell you something, in case no one has. Loyalty is not weakness. It's power. It's rare. And when someone spits on it, that's not your failure. It's theirs. 4. Forgiveness doesn't mean letting them back in. People throw around the word forgive like it's a moral obligation. I don't owe her peace. I owe myself peace. That's why I let go, not to save her, but to save me. Forgiveness isn't reopening the door. It's locking it and throwing away the key without bitterness in your heart. 5. You can survive anything once you stop pretending it didn't happen. I stopped lying to myself. Stopped pretending she'd change. Stopped rewriting her intentions just to make them less ugly. The day I accepted who she really was the day I started becoming who I really was again. If you're reading this, if you're a man standing in your own garage, hearing the truth crack open through a wall, I'll tell you what I wish someone had told me. Don't wait for them to destroy you before you leave. Walk away with your dignity while you still have it. Gather the truth, act smart, protect yourself. Not every battle is fought with screaming. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is smile in the face of betrayal. Then build a life so good it silences every lie they told. I'm not broken. I'm rebuilt. Not harder, but smarter. Not colder, but sharper. And if I ever love again, and I will, it won't be through rose-colored glasses and blind faith. It'll be with eyes wide open, heart protected, and the understanding that real love doesn't stab you in the back while smiling across the dinner table. This was never just a divorce. It was a rebirth. And this time, I don't need her approval. I don't need validation. I don't need a single damn, like, or post, or performance. I have something better. Me.